This is John Reeves, and welcome to the Truth as Medicine podcast. We acknowledge that we gather in Pasadena on the homelands of the Tongva people, also known historically as the Gabrielino, and by some as Cuz. In particular, we honor the Jajamangna community whose village and homelands are centered along the Arroyo Seco and who continue their relationship with this place. We pay respect to Tongva elders and relatives, past, present, and emerging, and we commit to learning from and acting in reciprocity with the indigenous communities who steward these lands and waters. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the Truth as Medicine podcast. Again, my name is John Reeves, and I'm the host, and we have a very interesting guest for you all today. One of my closest friends, Amy Renne, and Amy is a spiritual medium and intuitive healer. She has Heavenly Messages by Amy, and we'll get into a little bit, but Amy is a spiritual medium and intuitive healer whose work is centered on helping people navigate grief, trauma, addiction, and disconnection. Through her practice, Heavenly Messages by Amy, she has walked with clients for years, offering guidance that blends spirit, culture, and compassion. Her ability to bring forward messages of hope and healing has made her a trusted support for individuals and families carrying invisible pain. Amy's work reminds us that sometimes the most powerful medicine is not found in the clinic, but in the truths that spirit returns to us. Amy, welcome to the podcast.
John, thanks for having me.
Of course. So I like to start these with a story about how we met. And our stories of meeting might actually be a little bit different. So I'm interested from your perspective to let our listeners know how we met.
Well, that was tapping back into my memory there. Spirit brought us together. Meaning by that was I had a client that I was guiding, and she introduced me to you. And that was, gosh, how many years? 12 years ago?
It might be about 12 years. Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the first time that we met, and I don't know if you remember this, but it was at your son's football game in Vancouver, Washington.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the person that actually brought us together in the physical. She said, "Hey, I want you to meet this wonderful friend of mine, and she does this really amazing work. And I meet you at this football game." And I'll never forget the first words out of your mouth to me was, "Did you have a brother?" And I was shocked.
Really? I said that, huh?
You did. And, you know, for the listeners, my brother passed away shortly before his first birthday, way back in 2003. And I'll never forget this. You said, "You have a brother. He's standing right here, and he's telling me how funny you are." And because I was floored. So do you have a lot of, interesting, maybe talk to the listeners a little bit about what an intuitive counselor is?
Well, intuitive counseling is basically people will call me typically because they have a problem somewhere in their life and they need an assistant to help them guide through it. And so where I come in is I use my intuition. People ask me questions, I think about it, and I give them the answer. And it kind of just filters through me in a way that I can't really describe. I can see things, I hear things, I feel things, randomly out of nowhere things. So, and I'm my biggest skeptic, trust me. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. I have no idea what I'm seeing. I'm asking them, what does this mean? So, and it works, and it's worked really well because keeps happening. Been doing this now almost for sure 17 years, but more like 20 years. And it really helps people.
Yeah. It's interesting, the connection to healthcare. One of the things that, I've told my wife or I've told other people when I kind of describe my friend Amy, who does this amazing work, is how good you are at healthcare stuff. Like that is the one thing. And every time we touch base, and at some point you're going to hit the health, and usually you hit it right on. How do you do that? How does that come to you?
Well, I remember this wasn't that long ago, your wife was telling me you had a cough. And when she told me you had a cough, I saw an image in my brain of a dentist office. And I saw a man coughing inside the dentist office. And so that tells me, oh, John has an infection in his tooth.
And I was putting that off for a very long time. I'll never forget that one where Pui was like, you have to make a dental appointment tomorrow. Like, do it tomorrow. And I have been dealing with that for, maybe 3 or 4 months. I'm not the type of person that, even though I work in healthcare, you won't see me partaking in the healthcare industry.
Nobody wants to go to the dentist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was it. I had a little abscess and got me some meds, did a little root canal, and I'm still breathing.
And you're doing fine.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah.
So I can't thank you enough. I've told the listeners here in the last episode, but as they will get to know me, you'll often hear me talk about my soapbox that, Indigenous health, the environment in which we operate, the key to fixing the broader healthcare industry, lies with us. And I often say that sometimes we don't understand the healthcare industry, that manifestations of illness and injury can be driven by the spirit. I mean, historical that we're beginning to understand right now. Do you believe?
Well, I've witnessed it. I've witnessed people manifest illness in themselves.
Really? Like, actually, tell me about that.
Yep. Well, let me think. There was a woman once that called, and she called several times, and I don't remember her name, but I remember telling her, I said, if you do not stop manifesting this, it's going to happen. And it did happen, and she was fearful of getting sick so much that she made herself physically sick in a very bad way. Another way to describe that is people sometimes that, they're terrified of driving, and I'm gonna get in a car wreck, I'm terrified, I'm so scared, and they manifest it.
So
Your thoughts are energy.
I was just going to say, thoughts are real, aren't they?
They really are. Absolutely believe they are most powerful, even more than the mouth sometimes.
Wow. Positive and negative, huh?
Very much so.
Amy, how did you discover your calling?
Oh, yeah. So I had this, I can remember when I was really young. What happened was the neighbor boy got killed on his motorcycle, and I was in the back seat of my grandmother's car, and I said, we drove past where he died, and I saw him standing there in spirit, and he was holding the side of his stomach, so I knew where his injury was, and I said, oh, there, I think his name was Robbie. I said, there's Robbie standing there, and I saw him clear as day. He just watched me drive by. We made eye contact. I mean, I can still see it, and uh, I kind of got shamed for that. That was not allowed to be, like, don't say stuff like that. Nobody. And then it continued. Like I can remember my teacher coming to class, and I knew she was pregnant. I knew things about other people around me. When people were telling me stories, I would see somebody saying, I grew up in this house in the countryside. I'm like, oh yeah, that pretty blue house. And they're like, how did you know it was blue? I'm like, I see it, it's blue. And then it was just, I thought it was just kind of normal. And then I stopped talking about it because I would get in trouble for saying things. And then I can specifically remember stopping talking about it completely. And then when I had my daughter, way fast forward many years, it came back like a massive lightning bolt, and was actually a very horrifying experience for me because it was almost like I thought I was literally going schizophrenic. I really did. Bad experience. And then it's been a beautiful ride, I have to say. It's been a lot of fun.
So how long would you say that you've been doing this work for?
Well, I know 17 years professionally for sure. Before that, I did readings for free for people for years because I didn't trust that this was real. I thought, I'm just going to continue to test this out because I don't know. I'm not sure. Is this right, what I'm seeing? I don't know. And the feedback was more, A lady came over one time, and I said, "Your daughter's chest is full of leaking blood." I said, "You need to go home and take her to the hospital." And when she went back home, her daughter was passed out on the couch and had like a aorta, like she was going, like she was dying. And so that's when I thought, okay, this is real.
So you faced a lot of skepticism. Probably, do you still to this day? I mean, you've been doing it long enough. Do you still get those people that say, yeah, that's not real? I know we have skeptics everywhere, but do you
Huh.
feel that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do, because I'm not always right either. And so if I say something and it comes wrong, it kind of creates skepticism. It just kind of naturally happens. I try to remind people, I said, this work isn't easy because you're calling a perfect stranger that knows nothing about you and you're asking them personal things and expect them to know, it's called kind of remote viewing. It can be tough.
Do you ever get those people that they don't believe you or they lie, they try to test you and that kind of situation?
But yeah, I never forget. I never forget those people. I've had people contact me with different names.
Really? So somebody will call you and they're Jennifer, and then 2 months later they're Pam, and you
Yeah,
can tell. You're like, oh, it's
I
Jennifer.
know. I know.
You just,
Usually know within 3 minutes if somebody's lying to me.
how do you know?
Yeah. I start getting like a massive hot flash.
Really?
Like I start getting a reaction in my body of a combination of high anxiety and fever.
Really?
Very unsettling feeling.
Any idea why you think that is? I mean, it just
It's
impacts
my
you.
warning sign. It's my warning sign. Um, Yeah, that's how it talks to me. Sometimes I'll be out in public and somebody will walk by me and I'll have that sensation that's my warning sign. They're not a good person. Something's wrong.
It's interesting that you say that because I'm by no means very intuitive and I can't speak to things that may not be there in the physical, but I can always tell. I get chills on the left side of my body, and usually they happen when I know that's the direction I need to go in. So I'll be sitting in a board, we'll be talking about something, or somebody will say something, and I'll get those chills and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is for real. It's the weirdest thing. So kind of like that.
Yeah, I get butterflies when good people are talking to me. Like right now, I have a really good feeling talking to you. Yeah,
You're too kind, Amy.
it's real. It's real. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I try to be genuine and I appreciate the good words. How has your practice grown over the years? I mean, how long did it take you to find a following? I mean, do you do a lot of marketing or word of mouth, or how does that work?
Well, I don't do any marketing. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a website, but that's really it. And basically, what that's for is for people to schedule consultations if they like, where they can pick and choose a time from a calendar. And it's literally word of mouth. I don't reach out to people. I don't contact people. And there was a couple incidences there in the past that really pushed my name out there where I was working. I met these psychic twins. They're identical twin sisters,
Really?
and I called them for a reading because I wanted to. This was when I was before I had actually started where I wanted to talk to somebody about this work, and I called them for a reading, and they were great. They were wonderful. They really helped me, and it ended up being that I ended up giving them a reading, not on purpose. It just kind of happened. But their mother that had passed away, that looked like Lucille Ball, was laughing at me. So I had to tell them about that. And when they hired me, they wanted me to work under them because they were too busy. And then that just completely went nuts. That was just years of, I mean, I don't even know how many people, but that's really kind of how it got big. Business got big. Yeah.
I think I may have heard of the psychic twins. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. They're identical twin sisters, and they will go into separate rooms and remote view to help people, or automatic writing, and come out of the room with the same exact notes. Pretty fascinating.
That blows my mind. So do you
Yeah.
use tools like that, like remote viewing or automatic writing, or?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great tool. Like right now, I have a pen and paper next to me. I always have a pen and papers because the energy sometimes comes so fast. I write down whatever I'm getting so I can come back and share it to whoever I'm speaking to. It's like lightning bolt sometimes.
Really? So do the spirits, do they just come to you, or how does that work?
Yeah, I whoever I'm getting ready to talk to, they just come.
Really? Just like plop up on your couch, ring a doorbell, I'm here.
Yeah, pretty much. And sometimes it's not the person they wanted to hear from.
Really?
So, yeah, and that's okay. I can't control that.
That's right.
If Uncle Fred's coming through, that's who we're talking to.
Uncle Fred's got something to say, and we're going to hear it. Are the spirits, are they just like you and I talking right now? Or do they have personalities? I mean, I know they're
Oh, yeah, they're hilarious. Oh my
really,
god, it literally cracked me up. Yeah.
so they just kind of, do their personalities kind of match how they were in the physical? Because I assume they're probably the same soul. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's almost exactly the same. The only difference is they have a little higher knowledge now, being over on the other side. You know, they have way more understanding, they have new eyes, they can see everything and understand, a whole 'nother perspective, and they tell me things about their loved ones that are here, and that's how I help people. I mean, I know that sounds a little out there, but that's what happens.
I've seen a couple mediums on TV, and I'm sure some of that is sensationalized to a certain point. But do you ask for a photo or a locket or something that was personal to them? Do you do any of that stuff? Or
Yeah. Well, I asked for a photo to see their eyes. It helps me to see a picture of who I'm talking to.
okay,
But the other day, I met a perfect stranger. I didn't even have her photo. And it was probably one of the better readings I've ever done. Sometimes it randomly, I don't know who, had no idea where that person even lived. And I just got all this info. So sometimes nothing is best. It really, I mean, it just kind of depends on the person, I guess.
that's wild. I mean, this podcast is a lot about healing and, indigenous
Yes,
communities and indigenous health. Trauma is such a big thing. Across
it
your
was.
years of clients, are there any common themes of trauma that has emerged?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. Well, the most common trauma that I have come across is childhood sex abuse.
That has a real big impact on a person's life. I mean, I know the medical background and knowledge surrounding that, but so that's a theme, huh?
It really is, and I kinda have to sometimes go there to get it out of that person because I know that I have a feeling about that sometimes, and I will ask them, if this I have to feel the person out, you gotta be careful what you say and ask people
Hmm.
because you really never know what they're going through, but that is one of the I don't in my opinion, the repercussions to childhood sex abuse is I don't wanna say it's the most damaging, but in my opinion, I actually in my own personal opinion, I think it is because I see what it does to people.
Does it always have kind of the same manifestation, or is it different depending on the person? I'm sure there's varying levels there.
It leads to a lot of can lead to a lot of problems leading into addictions, leading into relationship problems, self-worth, self-esteem, suicide. Sometimes I'll hear parents, they'll call and they've lost a child to addiction, and that addiction came from that child being, it's so heartbreaking, but and it just it's, something that's not talked about enough, I think. Yeah,
I mean, we're seeing mental health really emerge as this. It really affects everything. Diagnosis. I mean, in our clinics, we're real big on doing like a warm handoff. Having somebody come in for a medical visit, we have a questionnaire that we give them on the front end, which assigns them a score, and then our medical providers know that this patient is would be a great candidate for a warm handoff. And then we got behavioral health therapists embedded in the clinics.
amazing.
So yeah, but almost everybody that we see come through the door has some varying aspect of mental health. concern. And it's wild how
Mm,
it's become.
mm.
Do you think it's always been there? Or do you think are we just now understanding it? Or is it new entirely?
Oh, I think it's a universal. It's always been there. I think but the difference now is we have way more communication skills, ways of communicating it, where it wasn't so much communicated before and was more of a hidden thing. You can have abusive parent, you could have, trauma happens. There's really no way to avoid it.
Right. I mean, it can break you or make you stronger. It's all in, the support that you're able to get and how you're able to spin it. Yeah, you're exactly right. Now, how does that show up? So you're seeing me, and let's say I've had some sexual assault type stuff growing up. I was molested. How does that look to the spirit? I mean, can you see that? You mentioned you feel it. How do you feel it? Or how do you see it?
Well, that's a very interesting question because I don't really see it.
Okay.
Maybe that's a protection that's happening there. Because sometimes I won't see things that are traumatizing to me.
Hmm.
Know, I might see a version of that somehow, but I feel pain. I feel other people's pain sometimes, and usually that shows up in a little child, of an image of a little child.
Really? So you get
Yeah.
like symbols that you associate to things that are happening. You have this master alphabet of all these different pictures that resemble stuff.
Kind of, yeah, there's ways spirit talks. If I see a coyote run out in the road, that's a warning sign for me. It's almost accurate every time.
Really?
There's danger around. I would say mostly it just comes audibly into my ears where I hear a name and I know there's a warning with that vibration in my ear somehow.
How does that impact the person that's coming to you for the reading? I'm sure you probably shock people with what you find out, probably in this situation more so than not. I mean, how are they affected or how do you see them react?
What their soul's work ability. Where I go is I tell them what they're capable of doing, what spirit shows me. I tell people what their dharma work is, their passion, where their soul's been good at doing things in past lives, they usually are this life.
Let's talk a little bit about past lives because that has always been something that has interested me. Personally, I'll never forget my journey with past lives. There was a therapist in Portland, and I decided to finally go for it, but it blew my mind. Sat down and did
Mm.
the hypnosis, took me through 3 lives, usually ask a question. Do you believe in past lives? And can you see them play out like a movie? Or how does
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I believe in past lives. I believe people that we're really drawn to and close to in this life, we've known in past lives.
not always in the same role, I hear?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Your brother could have been your dad, your mom could have been your wife, I mean, those things can happen. It's just kind of a soul family.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of that? Like, will you get somebody from a soul family and then maybe a couple days later, a couple weeks later, you'll get somebody else and you'll be like, hey, this kind of resembles this person. Do you see that or
Yeah, I had two estranged sisters contact me on the same day once.
on the same day?
They booked back-to-back appointments. One was in Florida, one was in LA. And I was talking to the first lady. I said, her passed away mother was here and lovely woman. And she's like, I'm estranged from my sister. And we talked about that. I hung up with her. I get on the next call and she wants to talk about her estranged sister. And the mother is still here. And I'm like, it's time to go. you know, I have a strict rule that when I finish a reading, we're finished and we keep going forward with what's coming in. And she wouldn't leave because it was her other daughter.
So the mother was just like, no, I'm still here. This is mine too.
And it took me a little bit to figure it out. And I just said, I gotta ask you, is your sister's name, this? And she said, yeah. That just literally hung up the phone with her.
Wow. And they had no communication?
No communication, hadn't talked in years, hadn't even communicated in years, and I ended up emailing them both. I said, "Look, you guys gotta talk. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to put this, whatever it is, away for a while. Your mother is determined that you two talk. And they both emailed back and said, our mom used to put us in the chair together and make us sit next to each other until we would fight when we were little. And she would make us sit in the same chair until we talked.
Have you ever seen those like memes of those two kids and they got a single T-shirt on? It says on the T-shirt, "This is the get along shirt," but they're both in the same oversized shirt, and their heads are coming through the neck at the same time. So it's kind of like that, huh? Wow. So these messages really can shift somebody's path.
Yeah, I've helped people out of some pretty bad stuff.
Like what?
Unsafe situations for sure. Because when you're in something, it's really hard to navigate yourself because you're just so overwhelmed typically with, especially if you're in an unsafe situation. And sometimes I can help people see things they wouldn't see coming. So I'll say, if you can go here and do this and that and try to do it this way as fast as possible. And they're like, I would have never thought of doing that. And I'm said, well, give it a try and, kind of walk them through it all. And it works really well. I mean, I've helped women escape some pretty bad horrific actually situations before, and men too. Men too.
So let me see if I get this straight. So do you see it in your mind or you feel it and it just comes out that if this person is in this situation, walk into this group of people and, look for one in a white T-shirt or your exit is on the left? Is it that kind of navigating or more generalized?
It's kind of like I'm more so when I'm really tapped into somebody's safety, I can feel what the other person's thinking.
Really?
And I know that sounds out there, but what I will say most of the time is they are going to do this if you don't do this.
Really?
Like this is what that other person is going to do before they do it. Like you better get home because he's changing the locks right now, kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that clear. Jeez. I've also heard that mediums are sometimes utilized by police departments or detectives to, find where somebody had been buried or somebody had been murdered or help piece those together. Have you ever had any interactions like that you can talk about?
Yeah, I did. I went out into the forest with some detectives, and there were several. There was I think 3 cases in that we did in one day there. Actually, it was pretty amazing experience because they flew in these search dogs from the East Coast in Canada, and that's what I loved about the whole thing was watching these dogs.
Really?
Anyway, yeah, the dogs were absolutely amazing. I mean, the dogs went out before I did. They would not let me around the dogs until we were completely done with everything. So anyway, the dogs went out before I did. They had to go up in the earliest morning when the dew was on the ground because there's something about the scent. And wherever the dogs hit, they documented. And then later that afternoon, I went out into the forest and they gave me little flags. I walked around and where I felt the ground, I felt different vibrations. I put a flag and it actually pinned exactly the same place the dogs hit.
That is amazing. So you actually felt the vibrations coming through. I mean, what did that feel like?
I was really, really prepared for that. I was mentally clear. My aura was clear. So if I felt the slightest thing, it was pretty big. And so when I felt it, it was big. And I just knew that's where it was going to go,
It's mind blowing.
And I didn't particularly get too much involved with police cases after that much because it was I don't know, I might be interested in doing that more so, actually. I think it was a little overwhelming for me. Yeah.
So
Pretty
you said
dark stuff there.
you would be interested in doing that or no?
Yeah, I think I would. I just need a lot of time and space to work on that. I think what I was up against there was I just really didn't have the proper time to really devote to getting in. Like I really, if I'm going to work on something like that, I need to do it the right way and have the right time to do it.
You hear that, detectives out there? Amy's looking to doing some of that work. So why don't you reach out
Yeah.
Amy Renne in Montana, wide open spaces, and let's put her to, let's go. I love it. So I want to shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about culture and spiritual healing. You know, how do culture and ancestors show up in your messages? Like, do we have native populations? Because I know where you live, and there's quite a few tribes that have lived amongst that land. Do you see a lot of stuff that doesn't really match the way that we're living here from a cultural perspective?
Yeah, meaning I've seen where, there's a lot of disrespect, and it does not set well with spirit
Really?
and cultures, in certain cultures, yeah.
So it'd be like, we're out in the middle of land in South Dakota, and all of a sudden I'm big money bags, John Reeves, and I want to go out there and build a huge mansion right on this land because it's so barren and beautiful. That kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a really great way to say that for people to understand, because if somebody is arrogant to do something like that, Spirit's gonna give you a lesson one way or the other. They're gonna teach you a hard lesson if you're being disrespectful. Yeah.
I've watched those ghost hunting shows, and when people go to like Deadwood, South Dakota, and they purchase those old hotels and they want to, give it a facelift or really give it a certain vibe. And the spirits there do not like that. I mean, they will
Mhm.
make it known, make it difficult, and, run them.
Mhm.
You see a lot of that stuff too?
Yeah, haunted homes. Yep.
Explain maybe a situation there with do they call you in because their house is haunted? Can you talk to this ghost and tell them to leave or that kind of stuff?
Just yesterday, actually, that was happening on a reading. A man called me from San Diego, and his house is very haunted. And we're talking like doorknobs shaking, like loud shaking, knocking on the doors, shutting doors, walking in the hallway. And I gave him the tools to deal with that. And we'll do a follow up and see how it's going. But what I've learned over the years is there's some techniques you can do to kind of calm that down and
Really?
set boundaries. Yeah.
Like what? I spent a lot of time in Hawaii and tea leaves or putting salt in the door to keep them out. Are you talking about stuff like that? Or
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Uh, exactly. In this case, I was telling him how to redirect, and make his house, keeping them out of the house so the children can sleep, because I've had to do it myself here.
really?
Yeah, they were not being respectful enough to, I mean, the toys at night going off, waking up the kids, knocking on the windows, stuff like that. And I'm just like, "No, we are not doing this."
And they listened?
They absolutely listen.
Really? So it sounds to me that in some cases you're prepping us mere mortals for spiritual combat. I'm sure that's not always well received. Have you run into instances where it's backfired or
There's no hope sometimes.
there's no hope?
In certain properties, there's no hope. Yeah. There's been scenarios where they're haunted for generations and it's not gonna stop.
Yeah, no matter what. No
No
amount of,
matter what. You could burn the house down, build a new one, that will be haunted as well. There's nothing you can do.
I've seen that in some of those ghost shows too. Like the Chicago fire, I guess, was created by, some spirits who didn't want all that building done. And then they have fires and fires and fires again. So that's a real thing.
And this is why me and your wife want you to stop taking her to haunted motels.
There's a thing, listeners, with that, because for whatever reason, I will get on hotels.com when we're traveling around the country and I always pick the haunted hotel. I don't do it on purpose. I mean, I'm trying to get a deal, but we have ended up in some of the most haunted hotels in the country. Yeah. And I need to start listening to her more.
When there's a clown on the sign, that's not best.
It's not a good place to stay. Sorry, Tonopah, Nevada. So what is it with clowns and, spirituality?
Heyoka. You taught me about Heyoka.
Oh, yeah, the clown, the backwards
The
walking.
clown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
It's
is,
also called the jokester,
yes, it's the trickster.
the
Yeah,
trickster. Yep.
I'm a little bit of a trickster myself, probably not to that level.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. I'll never forget when my Lakota friends and my brothers out there tell the stories about Heyoka. And yeah, some very interesting stories. Have you ever
Wow.
ended up on any Indian reservations or anything like that? Have you been called for any support out there?
I haven't. I never have. No, I never have. Double checking my memory there. No, I never have.
Wow. Well, if you ever do, some of my favorite stories have happened on the reservation and played a lot of basketball through the Midwest and Pine Ridge and Rosebud. And we'll be driving to a independent tournament in the middle of the night, and we will see somebody walking alongside the road, and you'll see all my relatives over there saying, "Don't look back, don't look back, don't look back. We don't want the deer people to take us." Some very
Mm,
interesting stories.
that is amazing
It,
story.
it really is. Goes back generations. I wish I could speak on a lot of that. I just have, secondhand knowledge, but yeah, those cultural things, they transcend lifetimes, that's for sure.
Is
You know,
that something?
right. What role do you think ceremony, prayer, and cultural teachings play in healing?
It's working with the higher power somehow.
Mhm.
And we all need something to work with to make ourselves feel comfortable and safe. So, whatever kind of human you are, it's helpful to find something that you're comfortable with. We can go to new cultures and learn what are we drawn to, what interests us. Usually our soul will tell us what we like.
Loud and clear. When people in general are disconnected from culture, do you have examples of maybe how the spirit reconnects them?
One way or the other, that person will get a lesson to humble their soul. Whether they receive it or not, it's up to them. And it will continue to happen until they have either suffered so much that they have no choice but to change. And some souls they don't. They continue on the other side and finish the lesson over there.
It's interesting that you say that because I was thinking about you as you were answering that. And in my life, I have seen that come to play out. There have been a couple situations because I'm rather hard headed sometimes where I find myself in a similar situation and I have to think to myself, okay, I'm not going to make that same mistake and I better choose. I learned from my lesson. So, I mean, you run into people that have that same type of scenario or same type of situation.
Yeah, humiliation's a big one. Sometimes we have to get humiliated to learn.
Yeah. That whole sometimes you need to show up to school in your underwear thing so that
Uh-huh.
wake up an hour earlier and put your clothes on. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's interesting. How do you from your perspective, how do you feel like ceremony, prayer, cultural teaching, how do you think they integrate with clinical and behavioral health? Do you have any ideas there?
Well, I mean, I think it's an amazing tool for people to use for their mental health for sure. Chanting, journaling, prayer. Prayer to me is one of the absolute best healing tools we have, and it's free because what it does is when you are in a state of mind that you need help and you can kind of work with healing energy to move through your body and really feel it. It's quite powerful how it can help. It can help protect us spiritually. You know, our spirit guides hear our prayer.
Yeah, that's that's interesting that you say that. So, I mean, there may not be an answer to this question, but for the sake of praying, is it for the individual? Is it for your spirit guides? Is it for the higher power? Does it impact them all a little bit? What's your perspective there?
I think it's about gratitude. Whatever you're going through, you're still grateful. Keeping that vibe as high as possible only creates better outcomes, good karma. Ceremonial, prayer, I'm not so, I mean, this is where this is something I would love to learn more about for sure. The power behind, indigenous medicine, and prayer. I really don't have that knowledge. I mean, I know Ayurvedic medicine, some I know Chinese medicine. Those taps into astrology as well, and so there's some really great modalities there to use for healing purposes.
It's interesting you say that because a gentleman I met, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, he's from a tribe in Oklahoma area. His dad, he comes from a long line of spiritual healers. And he said to me, and I don't fully understand this either, but it was interesting that he made it a point to say, look, there's really a couple kinds of healing in our tribe that we understand. One of it is through the medicines, the herbs, the earth, those kind of things. And the other one is prayer. I mean, he made that important distinction between medicines, the physical, and prayer, the spiritual. I'm going to try to get him on here because I just love his perspective. I myself would love to learn a lot more about that because I think there's definitely something there. And I'm not talking about the medicines that we give people in the pharmaceutical industry because I think that's just a band-aid.
Mhm,
It's a
mhm,
way to keep people sick and not fully heal them so we can continue to make money off of them.
mhm.
But I truly believe that that key, like I said, is how indigenous populations have been living for years and years and years, brought them to where they are. And hopefully we rediscover that because there's definitely something to it.
Ancient wisdom there.
Exactly. Not ancient aliens, ancient wisdom. We'll save the aliens
Mm,
episode.
that's another episode.
For
We
those
can talk about our foil hats.
that's right.
Yes.
I'm going to go there and knock down a 5G tower. And yeah, I have a picture of when I was probably in my early 20s. And that was when Ancient Aliens was a big thing. And that guy with the crazy hair, I think it was on my,
I remember that guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
my hair was just like that. And aliens. So, do you believe in aliens? I mean, is there
Well,
any
I didn't before, but I do now, and I think they're coming. I really do.
like legitimately coming, like they're on a ship heading
Yeah,
our way?
yeah. I think they're going to be exposing themselves more and more. Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
I do. I just do. For some reason, I didn't believe in it at all before. I mean, I just never tapped into that so much. But kind of changed my mind about that. Uh, and I don't really remember why, but something happened. I think it was with a client, probably is most likely what happened. But
So they were like abducted or something, and you saw them sitting on the table with the probe ready to go for it. And oh, wow, they're real.
UFO sightings for real. Yeah.
Real.
Yeah.
Wow. That whole thing has interested me for a very long time. Maybe we'll get somebody on here who is an alien or knows someone personally. We'll give you some contact information at the end of this episode. Please reach out. I'd love to have you on the show. Let's talk a little bit about lessons that you've learned from your clients. What has surprised you the most about human resilience?
Well, I've met people in so many different types of scenarios, and I've seen people survive so much. I mean, it's incredible the resilience people have. Whatever you're going through, I promise you, somebody's done it and survived it.
We are a very resilient species, aren't we?
Oh my gosh, it's incredible the amount of suffering people can go through and survive. I mean, it's really, uh, yeah.
Do you see that through the spiritual work? I mean, I hate to get into past lives, but have you ever run into anybody that, maybe unfortunately went through the Holocaust in a past life or were part of the atomic bomb dropping out in Japan, anything like that? Or even, shoot, were there when Christ was up on the cross? Any of that stuff?
I've seen a lot of lineage with ancestors on the other side. Um, I've seen a lot of past lives in other countries for people, around the world. And it's almost like they already know. It's so funny. It's they're like, "Oh yeah, I was just in Indonesia. I love there. I love it there." I'm like, "Really?" I mean, that's ironic because that's where your past life was. It's just our souls really kind of know. We just have to listen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you told my wife or me, it was probably her, you really need to go to Europe. I don't know why you need to go, but I think once you get there, you're going to say, you had a past life over there.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's people that will literally travel to a certain spot over and over because it feels so good to them. And it feels terrible to somebody else, but for whatever reason, it feels so good to that person, and that's usually why, because they've been there before.
It's interesting you say that because, for the listeners, spent a lot of time in Hawaii growing up. Lots of close friends out there, spend a lot of time there. But you get that when people travel to Hawaii, it's almost like whatever is energetically pleasing out there impacts
Mhm.
everybody that goes
It's
out.
so true. Yeah, so many people say that, don't they?
They do. So much so that everybody wants to buy some land over there and do the whole colonialistic thing. But yeah, everybody wants a piece of whatever the aloha. That's what they call it. It's the aloha.
They love sitting in the water. I hear oh, yeah, people go just to kind of rejuvenate, sit in the ocean.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is to go to the bottom of the ocean and just sit on the bottom, hang on to some coral or something, and just look up at the space around me. It's one of the most peaceful places I think I've ever been in my life is at the bottom of the ocean. Maybe in a past life I had
Wow,
concrete shoes. Somebody threw me over the edge and I'm like, oh, this is great.
isn't that something? Get a little Atlantis there in you somewhere, huh?
Do you believe in Atlantis?
No, not really.
Okay. I didn't know if maybe you saw some of the old Atlanteans and their advanced technology in somebody's reading.
Coos Bay, one of the most healing places I've ever been in my life.
Coos Bay, Oregon?
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
I was
Well,
going to
you can delete that.
There's not a lot going on. I spent about 18 months out there consistently. No offense to all
Just
my Coos Bay people, but I don't know if I
I
want to
was
spend much
kidding.
more time out there. But I love you guys. I mean, it's just too rainy for me.
It is too much.
Not my cup of tea. Amy, what is the medicine people most often need but don't realize?
Self-love is the most common, I would say, in my opinion, medicine that everybody needs more of.
Why do you think that is? Is it because society has beaten everybody down or we're kind of slaves to technology or
Yeah, trauma, life is hard. I don't care if you're rich. I don't care if you're rich or not. Life is still hard. And I feel like we have to be our own best friend because we have to rely on ourselves so much. Whatever we're telling ourselves, we need to be kinder because you're a miracle anyway.
yeah, you are that one sperm that survived. It's interesting that you say that because we'll be scrolling through social media. I had to delete all my social media. I think I just have Whatnot. That might be the last thing that I have because
Ooh,
I buy my little dolls from China for Pui, those Labubus or Baby Threes or whatever those things are.
okay.
But
Yeah.
as I was scrolling through social media, it was like, it's almost like the silver screen years ago where you had to live up to a certain body image. Like nowadays, it's teeth whitening and all that stuff. It's all these angles to make you look skinny. It's all these, meds that we're able to take. But it's almost like no matter what, we're not good enough. There's
Mhm.
something that we can hate about ourselves, that we can change. And nowadays, at the end of a knife, a needle, or a pen, or anything like that, is where they find that gratification, which, was too much for me. Too much for me.
Too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's called the Kardashian epidemic.
Yes. I mean, we all want to be a Kardashian, don't we?
I mean, they're beautiful people, no doubt about it, but it's really started a severe trend.
Yeah. Very beautiful people. And I'm sure beautiful personalities, but you're right. Yeah. Everybody wants to be a Kardashian. All right. Now I got to speak for all the tribal health leaders because that's what I do. If you could speak to all tribal health leaders at once, what truths would you want them to know about your work? How can we integrate what you've learned into our practice?
Well, I do individual soul work. So whoever's coming towards me, I will help in the best way I possibly can with good intentions and point them in the right direction. Sometimes it takes a few times to really get it, but it's really kind of a different type of therapy where I can see a little bit more than maybe a therapist, in a different way a therapist would, or psychologist would, or psychotherapist would. I can communicate to people, I think, a little deeper level sometimes. It's just a different angle of therapy.
I would agree with you. When I think about where I would place you, and I've always thought for the longest time, maybe shortly since after we met, being able to provide your type of therapy would work really well in our environment, not just Indigenous health, but I think Indigenous health would be the one that would welcome that kind of treatment more so than the regular healthcare industry. But I would put you right in behavioral health. You would be part of traditional healing, spiritual healing, an actual section in the clinic and then utilize your skills.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Right. I think it would go really well. And maybe we could get some insurance companies to start paying for that.
That was a prayer I said so long ago too. Please let this be reachable to people so they can afford it. Get me into the healthcare system somehow because I could train others even to work in this line of work, I think, and just continue. I mean, we need more help. We need more helpers. We need more healers.
Amen. We do need a lot of healers. So you can teach people to do this?
Think so because it takes a person that is a number one type of compassionate person. They have to be compassionate and really want to help people. And from there, practicing and working with the energy, I think you can teach it.
So do you think that we may get to a point where we could prescribe your type of therapy, energy healing or anything like that, and patients can come in and get a session? Because I will say, every time I talk to you, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's something special that you do, but after I'm done talking with you, I feel probably the best I've ever felt in a very long time.
Huh, yeah, and I really don't know why that is, but not to sound arrogant, but that's what a lot of people say.
Really?
It's just unconditional love somehow, I think is what it is.
That love is definitely very powerful. I've met
Mhm.
energy healers. I think we know a few, but just something as simple as, and I think the young lady's background that I thought of, she used to do facials, and just she found that she built the clientele by just doing facials on people. And I don't think people were going for the facial so much as
Uh-huh.
whatever
She
she did.
felt good.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Big believer in that.
Huh.
You know,
Yeah.
Amy, how do you think leaders or clinicians miss the spiritual side of trauma?
Textbooks.
Explain that.
Well, I think that, for example, a medical doctor, their brain is so overwhelmed with so much information, I'm not sure how much room they have left. So it's kind of hard to find a doctor that can do both sometimes.
Yeah.
And the spiritual side of medicine is, I've met some incredible nurses that were extremely psychic. I mean, wow. And would just know how to treat patients and would get one lady would got fired because she knew how to treat the patient, but she didn't get the permission to do it. And she just did it and it actually saved their life, but she got fired because she missed the protocol there. But
Gee.
yeah, we get tripped up over all these rules and research and stuff that I think it's hard to intertwine the two.
Yeah. Do you think there's a danger in separating cultural healing from behavioral health?
Separating cultural healing from behavioral health.
Yeah, because
You
I
know,
see them in different veins, different, but in a way, you know, you can't have one without the other. If you're kind of looking at it from that perspective.
if they would welcome a new healer in to see what that healer could do, I think would be very interesting.
Yeah. How do you think a Kaiser or a Providence would take like a traditional healer or a spiritual medium, a cultural intuitive? How do you think they would accept them?
Well, definitely not what I do. I'm hearing a little bit that it's getting incorporated into healing practices, but not very much.
Hmm.
If anything, it's still kind of like, okay, I talked to a psychic, but I'm not going to tell anybody about that. Or I'm still kind of a hidden thing. Now, for other types of healers, I'm not sure if it would be terrible thing for them, but mediums tend to get bad raps. Psychics get bad raps.
Is it just because of the type of medicine or the healing that you practice?
The word psychic is kind of a bad word, honestly. It just tends to go to people automatically assume they're not respected, not a very respected field, I would say at all. I mean, not that I don't get respected, but for the masses, no, definitely not.
I mean, you didn't spend 12 years in medical school and waste all that money to sit and look at somebody and talk to their relative that's passed on.
Based upon feelings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. I think it's really holding the healthcare industry back. But the beautiful thing is in our world, it's a little bit better accepted. I think it's a shorter stretch to fully understand And I don't like to simplify everything, but I really have met a couple traditional medicine practitioners in the indigenous circle. And there's a couple that I can think of that have the same gifts that you do, like the exact,
Mm-hmm.
treat them the same way. It's just more culturally accepted than, say, my people.
Mm.
It's interesting. I think we can get there. I always say before I die, that healthcare industry is going to see the true value of what we have. And I've probably got at least 20 years left, I hope. And hopefully it's in our near future.
I would love to see it as well. I mean, I just know it's another angle of therapy. It is. It's another angle of therapy. We need it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Amy, I mean, I could sit and talk to you all day. I literally could. You're so kind. We're going to have you on again.
No problem.
Would you
Happy to.
share a message directly to our listeners?
Well, right now, currently, we are talking under an eclipse energy. We are under the first one. There's another one coming on the 21st, and that will be the kinder of the two. So if you're feeling a little exhausted or even it's kind of extreme energy. It's either super exhausting, super energizing. Everything's a little on the extreme side. That's why just hang in there through this month. Great time to start new beginnings. Really push yourself to start new routines, healthy as possible. Great time for that.
You know,
And love yourself more every day if you can. Just love yourself more.
that's a great message. Amy, I can't thank you enough for your honesty and your wisdom. Again, Amy Renne, she has Heavenly Messages by Amy. Amy, how do our listeners get in touch with you?
Just that. heavenlymessagesbyamy.com. You can find my schedule on there, my email, all my contact info's on there. If you're interested in booking a session, you can go to that website.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you're a pleasure, John.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth as Medicine. Be sure to join us for new episodes dropping every 2 weeks. If you have comments, questions, or guest recommendations, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out anytime at truth@indigenous.health. Until next time, thank you for listening and walking this path of healing and truth with us.